Hello? Hello? Oh, we're working. You see, the tech guy always teaches me just turn it off and turn it on again, and it starts working. It works! I just turned it on and off again. Funny, eh? Sometimes it's like that with technology. Hi, nice to see you. To see you, nice. I'm glad that I managed to get it working. I hope you're all having a beautiful summer evening. I was just sharing it there. So welcome. So if this is the first time you've been on live stream, then I'm going to tell you how it works. So the way that you get to speak to me is through Skype, and my Skype address is lisacairns12, and you can either write questions or you can ask questions, but please make sure you've got a headset, because otherwise it can be bad sound for other people, so it stops the feedback. So make sure you've got your headset on. And I do these talks every Sunday and Wednesday at 6 p.m. French time, and you're very welcome to join. It's free of charge to participate. You're welcome to join live. And you can just go to my YouTube channel, and if you can't find it, then the best thing to do is subscribe to my YouTube channel. So if you can't find the live stream, and turn on your email notifications, and it will be emailed to you at 6 o'clock when I go live, and you can just click on that link and find it. Or you can find it on my website. There's a live stream page and you'll see it embedded in there. Yes. What's going on, Khaleesi? What's going on? What's going on? You go and have an investigation. Lots of movement. Khaleesi is not happy. Okay, so what did I call the title of the talk again? I have to always remind myself. Okay, title of the talk is Can Non-Duality Be Arrogant? Oh my God, yes! Yes, 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 it can. Even the idea of enlightenment, like, is an arrogant idea in a way. Or can be an arrogant idea. Like, often enlightenment is about you getting something, so you becoming enlightened and you having enlightenment. So the subject of non-duality can be arrogant, and people that try to be non-dual people can be arrogant. But the essence of non-duality isn't arrogant. So the essence of who you are isn't arrogant at all. It's free. So who are you? Who are you? That's the question. So non-duality questions where you think yourself to be. So in typical society, people think that they are someone, so they're an I, and they're in relationship to you. So you might think that I'm sitting here talking to you, and that's how we describe things in language, and there's nothing wrong with that. We don't need to then start going on that we're nobodies or something. In language, that's how we communicate, and that's how our society is set up. But that doesn't mean that that's the ultimate reality or that's the way things are. That's simply the way we're communicating in order to be able to describe something. But if you haven't noticed yet, I'm sure most of you that are listening have, is it's impossible to actually speak about anything. We can only point to things. So the way that we know this sofa is it's not a wall, it's not the table, it's not the chair. We know it as a sofa, and we know it compared to all these other words. So we know a tall table. So say we describe a tall table by the fact that it's not a short table, but the fact that it's a table, it looks a certain way, it has a rectangle top or a circle top or a top with 4 legs, or has legs, and you can put chairs around it. So everything we know is in comparison to something else. We might not think that's the way our language is set up, but our brain is quickly deducting everything and putting words together and creating a meaning. So everybody's meaning of what I say will be different. When I was younger and before I got into this subject, I thought that there were things that were fact and that everybody understood things in that way. I didn't really contemplate the idea that everybody's notion of love is different, everybody's notion of what I'm saying is different, everybody's notion of hate is different, everybody's notion of goodness is different. So you know your whole entire environment by the comparison to other elements in that environment. You know something is blue because it's not red. You know something is green because it's not brown. You know something is beautiful because it's not ugly. You know something is white because it's not black. You know something is free because it's not caged. So our meaning, like the pace in which our brain is working, is really rapid, and it's really amazing, and it's always pairing meaning together. It's always putting meaning in things and putting that meaning together into sentences which we understand and we comprehend, and then it enables us to communicate with other people. But that's not reality. That's not fact. That's not who you are prior to learning language. So when you were born, you didn't have language, but yet you still were. There was still consciousness. If you bump your head and you don't have language, you forget everything. There's still this consciousness. There's still this awake presence. And why is that so important? You know, lots of people maybe talk about this. And the reason that that's so important is because there is something prior to language. So our essence, one thing that you'd say, if we say essence, one quality you'd give it is it's conscious. Like, we're conscious of this world. We're not like a TV. We have consciousness. We're looking out and we perceive this world. We perceive the sofa. We perceive the table. We perceive the room. So there is consciousness appearing. And we also have this sense of being. And that's not dependent on language. That's not dependent on who we think we are. That's not dependent on being a good person, a bad person, a rich person, a poor person. We have these two independent things, this awakeness, this consciousness, this knowing, and this presence, this sense that this is, that life is. So what non-duality is trying to point to is who you are beyond who you think you are. So who are you beyond who you think you are? Who? And that's such a profound question. That's so beautiful. And when you really begin to explore it, even the word consciousness begins to disappear. There is simply nothing appearing as everything. There's life, there's energy that knows itself. And this consciousness is timeless. This consciousness doesn't move in time. We perceive ourselves as this separate entity with a soul inside the body, and this soul is conscious, and it's something that thinks and has choices and doership, and it came from the past and is going from the future. It came from the gym and it's now listening to Lisa, and then afterwards it's going to go and have its dinner, or it's going to start the day, depending on where you are in the world. But that's not actually who you are. There is this consciousness, this awake presence that's never moved. Ever. It's here watching in every instant, experiencing itself. And in that you move, in that the world moves, in that the character moves. The suffering comes when there is the identity with that, the identification with that character. So this like sucking on, it's like, and it takes that story to be who you are. And there's nothing wrong with stories. I love stories. I'm a writer. I love it. But that's not who you are. That's not an experiencer. when there's identification with, so when the consciousness, or when it feels like you're a soul, you're the separate person inside the body experiencing. So when it feels like the consciousness and the person are all like squashed together, then what happens is you feel disconnected from who you truly are. So who you truly are is expansive and isn't limited. It's not a thing. But when you feel like you are limited, then it creates something called seeking. And what this seeking is this seeking to find freedom in the future. So seeking isn't the movement towards pleasure or pain. So in every moment there is a movement towards pleasure or pain. It's what our back bodies naturally do. So I'm just staying with my mum at the moment, and she just brought me coconut water. So very pleasurable. So my body moves towards pleasure, which is coconut water. And it moves away from being dehydrated. It moves away from being too hot. It moves away from nasty people. It moves away from doing too much manual labor, whatever it is. And it moves towards that which is pleasurable, to nice food, nice people, nice environment. Whatever it might be. And that's the way that all mammals are set up, as they move towards pleasure and away from pain. They have these feelings, and they determine their environment through those feelings and through moving towards pleasurable feelings. But when the human identifies and believes that's who they are, that you're someone moving in time, this seeking mechanism begins, where you begin to seek out the non-limited, the expansiveness, who you truly are, your essence, in a pleasure. And that's impossible. And the way that happens is, so say you have like a really terrible home, and then you inherit some money and you can buy another home, and you've been daydreaming about this for years, that you can buy this particular type of home, and you really fixate on it, and you really like imagine it a lot, and you're really excited about doing that. What can happen in that imagination and in those daydreams is that you begin to believe that you will arrive when you get there, that you'll be happy when you get there. It's like there's too much attachment to that idea. It's nothing wrong with that idea, but there's too much attachment, and it begins to become something that will fulfill you. And it won't, because you'll get the home and then there'll be something else, or something else, or something else. Like, it's endless. You can do it with a lover, you can do it with kids, you can do it with going on holiday, constantly having these milestones that you're going to arrive at, and then you'll be able to relax. And in that imagination, you dream that you'll arrive at love. You dream that you'll arrive there. And then that imagination always lets you down because you're not going to arrive there. Okay, so let's take some questions. Hi, Thomas. Hi, Andre. Hello, Lisa. How to go beyond the attachment to other people as an empath, always seeking approval. When I don't hear non-duality, I mainly focus on people's idea of how I act, look like. Did you have this kind of dilemma in your journey? This topic is really bothering me. I cannot seem to get an end of it. Please guide me. Thank you. So you need to go into your feeling body, Andre. Would you like to speak to me and we can do it online? But basically you need to go into your feeling body and discover why it is, or what it is that you want people to think of you, and why it is, like what feelings are there. Like it's something I can guide you through and into your chakras and how to feel them. Hi Lisa, I am curious as to, if not in the getting of something such as the job, bank account, child, partner, car, travel, but freedom is in each moment, because each moment is. Never mind, I'll call you. Can't hear. All good. Yeah, you're welcome to call Stacey if you feel to. And also Andre, I think you need to call as well. I can do the basic talk about the chakras. So yesterday when I was doing a talk in London, people asked me to explain more about the chakras, so I will. So basically we have 7 main chakra points in our body, and basically in those chakra points we have certain types of feelings, and when we're interacting with the world, our body has an instantaneous feeling towards something. So say if now somebody came in and screamed at me like, ah, it's not like I would be sitting there all like, there is nobody here, there is nobody hearing screaming. My body will have an energetic response. More than likely it will affect my heart, my solar plexus, my sacral and my root chakra. So in my heart I will feel like unloved and rejected. In my solar plexus, it might make me feel like powerless and out of control. In my sacral chakra, there might be fear and vulnerability. And then in my root chakra, it might be an ungroundedness and feeling like wobbly, vulnerable, you know, when you get wobbly legs. And our body is responding to, that's just a dramatic situation I'm explaining, but our body is actually having responses to everything all the time. So say if I see my dog, she's so funny. When she comes to my mum's house, she likes to sleep in my mum's dead dog's old bed. Not because she misses the dead dog, but she always used to do it when this dog was alive. And my mum's dead dog was really small, so this bed is really small. So when Khaleesi wraps into it, like she gets in and wraps in, it's really funny because she's kind of like bulging over the top of this little dog bed. It's very sweet. And so when I see her in that and I look over and she looks up at me like, Khaleesi is a very cute dog as well. Like my heart just resonates. And then my throat goes, it's like, hello, I love you. Like it wants to express that love. Like, I love you, sweetie. You're so beautiful. Boo, 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 boo. And in every situation, you're having these responses all the time. So I'm just talking about the psychology of the chakras. So this is happening. Say when you're thinking, you're going here, you're imagining what could be or what should be or what hasn't been or what you don't want or what you like or don't like. And these chakras are always going off, like indicating to us what's right or wrong. Often when people first get into this subject, they can't feel their body and they don't know what I'm talking about. They might know it from like feelings of love, like love is obvious, but often you don't know what I'm talking about because your attention is so much here and in this chakra here, the third eye, and in what you think about the world. So say, hello, sweetie. You want to come and sit with Mama? I have to just get her rug. One moment, Khaleesi comes and the whole world stops. "Oh, come and sit with your mama." She's like, "No, look, woman, I'm asking you for food. Bring me the chicken. That's what I want, chicken." "Come on then, you've got to sit on your little rug. Otherwise my mother will not be hungry if you not be happy if you don't sit on your rug, will she? She doesn't like you sitting up here without your rug. Come on then, on your bed. Come on." So come on, Easty. Come on, Easty. So say like most people don't experience their emotions when they're interacting with something. So say you go up to someone that you don't like. So you're at a party and you go up to someone you don't like. Now when you go up to them, your body instantly like shuts down. So your heart chakra shuts and your solar plexus shuts. But you might not notice that. What you notice is in your head, like you start blaming that person, you start moaning or bitching about that person. And you just follow this, like in your head. Another example of that that's more in denial could be being extra friendly to that person because you're afraid, so you're trying to butter them up. Or you become passive aggressive, like you go up and you're like nice, but you're like, and you send out like, you hit them every so often. You're like, nice bitch, nice bitch. But we're often not aware of what our body's saying. So in that situation, if you're more aware of what your body's saying, you might find that firstly, you just don't resonate with them and you don't enjoy speaking with them, but also they make you feel uncomfortable or vulnerable. And if you're aware of your body, then you can just acknowledge that. If you're not aware of your body, then you're just living in the story, like what an asshole this person is. Why do I have to speak to this person? Why did I come to this party and I'm stuck speaking to this banana? And on it goes, the stories that we tell ourselves. So something that's more in denial. So say if you're sitting here and you're not aware of your body and someone comes in and shouts at you, maybe there's other people around you and your story is that you have to look good to the other people around you. Like, I'm not afraid of this person. Who does he think he is? And really you're terrified of this person, but it comes out in an aggressive story. So it's just becoming aware of what your body's saying in every moment. Like, and what your chakras say. And the way that you learn this, it's not that I'm teaching chakras as in you have to do all these special exercises to open them. Although I think energetic works like Reiki or chakra balancing or yoga can be helpful for the chakras. And I'm not saying that balancing all your chakras is going to get you to enlightenment. It's not going to get you to enlightenment. Your chakras are always going to be changing from positive to negative. It's the way we interact with this world. But most of the time, the chakras are just tightly closed because we're not acknowledging our body. So our body is just in a dead zone. It's like in an empty zone. Like it's just dead. You don't feel it. And then it means that what you're solely following is your thinking mind. Like, so it's not you that's solely following it, but the body is set up to just be interpreting the world through the thinking mind. So just through one chakra rather than all 7 of your chakras. So that means that you're just believing this is real. And that's what it's like for most people in societies. It's just fixated on this one chakra place. So it's just getting sensitivity. So if I worked with you, so if you called in now, Andre, what I would do is I'd just get you to explore that. Like, what's your body feeling? What does it think in those situations? What's its responses? What does it want? And it doesn't mean that that is somebody. So we're so obsessed with this idea of somebody. It's just the functioning of the body. And in one way, that functioning of the body is kind of happening everywhere. So it's expanded. So even though if you feel fear in your heart, it's life that's carrying the fear. If you're feeling stuck, it's life that's carrying the stuckness. So it doesn't mean that, like when I'm talking about the body and the chakras, it doesn't mean that's who you are. It's something that's happening in part of who you are. But who you are is actually everything appearing, or nothing appearing as everything. This no thing appearing as all things. Isn't that wonderful? And in that there's this body, this vulnerable body that functions and works off feelings. Like at the moment, Khaleesi's being a real flirt with me because she wants food. So she's doing all these flirting things, like dancing around me, like, and it's like motivated by pleasure. And then it gives me pleasure, like reciprocity, like I want to feed her, like I want to please her because she's so sweet. Like it's how our bodies work, but that doesn't mean that there's somebody inside Khaleesi. It doesn't mean there's someone inside you or me. It's actually emptiness experiencing. But the reason that I point this stuff out is because sometimes we're so condensed and contracted inside the body and what the body thinks. It's just relaxing that and getting to know this body and becoming a more balanced human. I was trying to call. Oh, hey Stacey, I'm so sorry. I think I just missed you when I was getting Khaleesi. And I was also talking to Andre. I did say call. If you want to call back and I will get it now. I was trying to call. I wanted to know, since there is nothing to get and nowhere to arrive, but I'm happy to read this if you've written it all out. And there is only aliveness, this moment, what the responsibility is. For example, if my daughter has severe OCD and anxiety, and I have realized that my trying so hard to help her, give her what she needs, and I recognize that there is only this, and there becomes an acceptance for exactly who she is and where she is, as really no one actually, then what becomes my responsibility? Only what the body does? I see her as no thing appearing as everything somehow, sometimes now, but it is still tricky. Yeah, and your body will find its responsibility of what it needs to do. So it's like your responsibility has been predominantly head-based, so predominantly in the third eye. And then as you begin to collapse into it, like your body will respond in moment to moment of how you need to respond to her. And then sometimes there'll be thinking. Thinking is part of the chakra system and it's important, but it's mostly that your presence is the greatest gift that can be ever given to anyone. But then at the same time, there is no one that you're looking at. Like your daughter is this freedom. But on the bodily level, on the human level, your body wants to help her. But yeah, on this level, on this moment, there is nobody to help. And that is deeply relaxing, knowing that this is everything. This is all there is. And then if she comes and says to you, you know, I'm having this problem, can you help me? Then there's a movement to help her in that moment. And you can't fix her. It's not so much who is she to fix, because on the ultimate level, who is she to fix? But on the human level, it's like now, if the table was broken, you'd attempt to fix it. If the chair was broken, you'd attempt to fix it. If your leg was broken, you'd attempt to fix it. So it's not so important like who she is to fix. Like there's a problem that's happening in that instrument, just like if there was a problem happening in any other. But there's too much identification from you happening. So when you say that, it relaxes it, and you begin to like dissolve into what's happening. So just look at that feeling that you feel towards her. So when it's not there, then you don't need to evoke it. But if you feel that responsibility, just look at that, see it. It's most probably in the heart or the solar plexus area. And just see that they're simply feelings appearing, and they're not actually talking about the situation. They're not actually helping your daughter. They're stress that's put onto you. And see that it's not true. And the only thing that's important is what's arising now. Right now. And in this is no thing appearing as everything. And it appears like she suffers, it appears like she has problems, and that's exactly what's got to happen in that instrument. And at times it appears like you help, but then also, what can you do? Her destiny is her destiny. You can offer up these tools and she'll take them when she's ready to take them. Like, I work with people all around the world, and there's some people that are so ready to change and to shift and to like see beyond themselves, and then some people it's like a battle with them. Like sometimes in the session, it's not that I feel like I'm battling. It does, in some ways it feels like I'm battling them. This is very rare, but it's like their whole story just doesn't want to change. So anytime you begin to point that out, it's like just seeing that. AHT. Hi, with wish consciousness. With wish consciousness for human. My English is not so good. My question is, it's okay, whatever language you speak, I'm sure that I can't speak your language. I really respect it when people speak in a second language now after trying to learn French. Somebody in the history of human reached consciousness and enlightenment. At this time of human history, is it possible to someone confer or develop steps and levels of consciousness to another one? In my country, YouTube is blocked. Is it possible to respond to me here on Skype? Thanks a lot. No. Can you not get a VPN? They're saying that they might block YouTube in England because England's trying to make too many privacy laws for YouTube, and YouTube can't catch up. So if I'm visiting my mom, I wouldn't be able to stream. But no, I can't sit and reply on Skype. I'm sorry. Like I can't sit there and type while everyone else is watching. I don't know how I would do it. Maybe I could do a video at the same time. Oh, yeah, maybe I can. Okay. It doesn't see me, it just hears me. But now I've forgotten what your question is. So your question was about, I forgot. Hang on. Discard message. My question is, somebody in history of human reached consciousness enlightenment. At this time of human history, is it possible someone conferred to develop steps and levels of consciousness? There are many people that have steps and levels of consciousness and teachings that take you through processes. And in the end, like, it comes down to who would wake up. So who do you think wakes up? Who do you think goes through these steps and levels and arrives at enlightenment? Who is that person? Who? We always imagine that it's us that gets enlightenment, that we arrive at enlightenment. But who arrives at enlightenment? Who is this person that arrives at enlightenment? What do they look like? So your imagination imagines you're going to arrive at enlightenment, but who's looking right now? Who is this person that's looking out of your eyes? Who's sitting here listening to this? So there are teachers that teach it, and basically when you're teaching about somebody becoming enlightened, normally what you're teaching is relaxing the person. And then as the person becomes sufficiently relaxed, then there's a teaching of non-duality. So, and there's lots of people that teach that, and I'm not against that if that's what resonates with you. I tend to be against this cult mentality thing, where you go into this organization and it keeps you there for your whole entire life, and it always is telling you that it's your issue, your mind. Everything's your mind. But I'm not against like learning stages and being with an organization for a few years where you learn things and change and open and expand on the human level. And then there's another possibility that can be questioned, like who is sitting here? Who's looking out of your eyes? Who hears the sounds now? Who speaks? And you begin to see that there is a character that appears, and there is self-awareness and appearance of choice, but that's not you. That's appearing in this infinite space. Who you are is beyond that. It's free. That's it. It only gives 2 minutes, so that's all I can answer you. Bye. Yeah, that's nice. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Sue. Hi, Lisa. I keep having a strange feeling while I sleep and it wakes me up. It's difficult to describe. My heart beats so fast and I feel that I am lost, as if I just come back into my body. I then talk to myself to say everything is okay and I settle. Weird. Yeah, it sounds like you could be having awakening experiences in the night. It's quite normal because when you sleep, you disappear. So when you wake up, normally what happens is as soon as you wake up, obviously consciousness comes out, but consciousness comes in, but then a couple of seconds later, you come back in, the person, and claims its body and claims being alive. So it sounds like there is an expansiveness happening. There's nothing to be afraid of. It does feel like you're losing control or going bonkers. Hi Carola, hi Lisa. I would like to ask you to talk a bit about why expectation more than likely keeps an awakening experience away in my meditation. It is because it comes with seeking and looking for something in the next moment instead of a relaxation into the present. Yeah, that's totally it. So you can just feel where that is in the body. So when you're in meditation, there's an expectation that you're going to get there and you're going to arrive. But just like go to that place where you feel the expectation. Like where do you feel that in your body? You can write it here, like where you feel it as well, if you can tap into that. Or maybe you might think about it as the talk goes on, like where is it you feel expectation? I would say it's most probably in the heart or in the throat, like this longing for something, this expectation that something's going to come. And just feel that Feel the disappointment. Like, ask yourself questions like, what if you never get it again? Like, how does that make you feel? Hi, Maurizio. I know. I don't know how. I know we've spoken before, but I was thinking that I could get my computer speaks to me. I can do what's it called? Not Siri, but I have like not dictation. It speaks out. It reads the words and it speaks it. And I thought I could get it to read your name, but you can't highlight it on Skype. Your name. Oh, I'll just go back to Carola and see what she says. I can't feel it now. I just feel tension in my solar plexus. So that's really good then. Okay, so the solar plexus. So it's deeper than, it's further down than the heart. So solar plexus is often like, it's this expectation and it comes with this frustration. The solar plexus is often like going between hope and hopelessness, the hope that you're going to arrive. And then when you don't arrive, you feel hopeless. So just noticing that, like noticing in the past when you've done that with other things, with boyfriends, with homes, with situations, and how you want it, and just feel those feelings. Because they're happening right now. Your thoughts about the future, about you, this image of you that's going to get to the future is happening in time. But your feelings are right here. So it's just giving them the space to be here and to pass through. And like it's like that hope comes and then the hopelessness. Like, so hope that I'm going to get it, and then hopelessness that you're not going to have it, or frustration. And then that comes through. And then it's taken as real. So then there's like a jumping on the piggy's back, like jumping on it and like riding with it, this disappointment. And it's just seeing it for what it is. It's just sensation, and all of that's appearing in who you are right now, right here. Okay, so Vittorio. I really don't know how to say your name. I want to try and be polite though, so let me try and type it into Google. Vittorio. Vittorio. See? Vittorio. Thank you. I hope that's right. Vittorio. Hi Lisa. I see now that after years of seeking, what actually happens is a detachment from reality, people, my thoughts and feelings. I watch everything that happens, but nothing really fulfills anything. It's like to live in a void, always the same. I want the truth, but this seems so strange, and I don't know anymore how or if to go out of it. That's great that you see that and you acknowledge that. That's happening. There's this detachment happening. So that there is this experience of not wanting to experience what's happening. In some ways, it's your psychology trying to protect you. So I would suspect that there's uncomfortable or intense feelings that are too much for you to handle. So the body is detaching, or the psyche is detaching. I get the sense though with you, oh gosh, I've forgotten how to say your name again. Vitro. It's really, I don't mean to be rude. It's what happens with dyslexia. Even if I speak to you a lot, if it's not a name I recognize, like an English name that I've learnt lots, my brain doesn't hold on to the sounds. Vittorio, sorry. Vittorio. So Vittorio, I sense that it's more important that you speak to someone rather than I just give you a really bulldozing answer. That you speak to someone more personally about these things, and on a regular basis to try to understand your emotional body and understand what's happening inside of you. But just getting to know, and then when your body or when your mind is detaching, like find out why it is detaching, getting to know what your body's saying, what it's feeling. You could do energetic work as well, like Reiki, acupuncture, holotropic breathing, all these types of things to help try and get you more into your body. But I feel like you need to do it with somebody. Yeah. Thank you for your question. Any suggestions on anything to say to myself before sleep, or just allow and surrender fully? I feel I do, but then think maybe I'm holding back. No, I don't have any suggestions. I think you're doing it all perfectly. You could try listening to Non Duality before you sleep or something. Sorry guys, after all that juice my mum gave me, I'm going to have to pay a visit to the toilet. So I will be back. Yump, dump, dump, dump. I'm trying to sing a song. I'm never very good at listening to a song and then re-singing it. Dunk, 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 dunk. Yeah, I haven't got it. Okay, let's see if there's any more questions. Hi, Chris. Is non-duality an intellectual understanding that occupies the mind? Thanks, Chris, for your question, but no, not at all. So sometimes what happens is there's intellectual understanding which relaxes the mind. But I see that all as psychology, as like relaxing the neural pathways. But no, non-duality is beyond that. It's seeing what you are prior to the mind. It's an energetic shift, I would say, from being limited to not being limited, your essence not being limited, and then functioning through a character, whereas prior it's like this feeling that you are somebody separate that's moving through the world, and you're this person that's in relationship with things, and then it shifts, and then your essence is actually expandedness, is non-limitation, not divided, not two, and then in that a character appears. So it shifts around. Hi Lisa, I'm a psychologist major at University of Oregon and have been wondering how non-duality applies to differences in how mental health is viewed in the psychological versus the spiritual communities. I don't understand that. Could you just write out your question in a bit more detail? Like, are you asking me the difference between like psychology that you study at university as opposed to spiritual communities, but also what type of spiritual communities? There's all different spiritual communities out there. Well, you just write that out. I'll just speak with Sue. Thanks, Chris. I've listened to you for a few years. I'm one of those in the background, just allowing the words run through me. I love every fibre of your being. I resonate so much with your character, even though I'm in my 50s. And yes, I do listen to you with headphones on and drift into land of Nod. I think a lot of people do. And when people do, I've got to apologise for like the dogs barking and all my loud sounds. Like when I like dicky 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 ding. I've got to admit, I'm a fan of falling asleep listening to something as well. So if I'm listening to books or TV or film or whatever it is, and then suddenly it's like, you know. That's nice, Sue. It's amazing, like all these people that I meet around the world. I did a talk in London yesterday, and there were some people there that I hadn't seen for a few years, and it's so nice, like seeing people over the years. Like it's almost 10 years now that I've been speaking, and seeing people grow and change and relax and evolve. It's really beautiful. Thanks. Yump, bum, 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 yappa da bum. It's a little bit far up, isn't it? There's no more questions now. It's a very quiet night. There's not that many people online. Hi, Jindy. Hi, Lisa. I could have sworn I had to become somebody just to be here. I judged others and now I judge myself. One time I made fun of someone for being on welfare. Now I am. It's just like, man, this whole thing was I had to become someone. I can't believe that we're all enough. Seems insane. There are no losers and there are no winners. Could you say something about this? Sure. But Jin, just let me ask you. Like, I'm sorry if this hurts you. Like, I don't mean to hurt anyone when I say things. But why do you want to know me to speak about there's no winners and losers? Like when you started off by saying, I used to make fun of people being on welfare, or I made fun of someone for being on welfare, and now I am. Now you are. And then you say you want me to speak about there's no winners and losers. Is that a comfort to you? on the personality level, hearing about that. There's nothing wrong with it being a comfort to you, but just acknowledge it for what it is. Like it comforts that part in you that now might feel like a loser for being on welfare. I didn't know you guys had really welfare in America. Or that much welfare. I know you have a certain amount, but so is it, so just feel that in your body. So that might be really like painful for me to have asked that, and I apologize for if it is, but just see in your body, because it's better that we actually deal with what's there. So if you feel like you're a loser at the moment, at this moment in time, acknowledging where you feel that in your body, rather than me giving you sweeties like pardon me, really shouldn't burp online. I'm in work, this is from Sue, I just moved back while Jin writes that. I'm in work sometimes and I catch myself doing the talk that you do, Khaleesi. We got a E, ooh, a E, ooh, ooh. I'm not sure which one it is. Yeah, it's so sad, but ig uses if someone else could accept it for me. It would be easier for me just accepting it myself. I didn't understand IG, what that means, but IG uses if someone else could accept for me, it would be easier for just accepting it myself. So yeah, so just feel that feeling. We all have it. I don't think I need to become a winner. I think that being a winner is just comparing yourself to losers. Like we are pitted against each other. Like it's just a game. Does this make sense? You're not really answering. Yeah, that's going off again. Like being existential about it rather than staying with what you feel. So what is it that you feel in your body? And where do you feel it? Do you want to speak about this? Or is it you'd prefer to write about it? Like where do you feel that feeling of being a loser? Like I am a loser, and everybody has it. Comes throughout the day and goes. I am a loser. I've failed. I can't do it. Nobody will love me. I made a mistake. Where do you feel it? Embarrassment in my chest and throat and stomach. So that's great. So just stay with that. Like just, you recognize your feeling. So just stay with the discomfort of that. So now this is being honest. So screw the existential stuff. There is no losers. There is no winners. We just compare each other. Screw all that and let's just get real about that feeling. So in your stomach, your chest, and your throat, you feel embarrassment. So just feel all that tension. So just feel it and just speak it out if you can to yourself. Like, I'm a loser, I've failed, everyone thinks I'm rubbish, I can't do anything, I'm stuck, I'm a failure, I'm never going to make it. So just feel that. Just totally embrace it and know that everybody has these feelings, that these are part of the chakras. And when the chakra is in the negative, everyone, including myself, can have these feelings. Maybe not exactly the same way you do, but feelings of doing things wrong, feelings of failing at something. It's part of the chakras, and everybody's chakra goes from positive to negative. And what you want to do in your everyday life is to get it as balanced as possible. So it's just responding to what's happening in the moment rather than being stuck in really tight emotions a lot of the time. And the reason they get stuck, your chakras and tight emotions, is because you're telling yourself a mental story in your mind. So it's just recognizing what's happening. And then when you've done that, so you can go away and you can listen to this back and you can work on it on yourself, you want to then see the chakras in the positive. So then you want to ask yourself what you want, which is basically will be the chakras in the positive. Like, it's not that complicated. I spent my whole life trying to impress others. I can't believe who I am. Thank you. So yeah, I understand that. So you've got all these thoughts with these feelings, and you can go through it and you can spend time like exploring it. So then once you've explored it and you understand it, you want to move them into the positive. So the way you do that is that, like the chakras all have similar negativities when you get down to the base of your thoughts or your feelings about something. So like the chakras have these negative ideas in them, they also have these positive ideas in them. So let me go through these two. So in these three. So in the solar plexus, in its negative, it's I can't do something, I'm helpless, I'm stuck, I'm a failure, I'm never going to make it. Frustration, anger, hopelessness, depression. And in its positive, it is action, the feeling like you can choose, the feeling like you have hope, the feeling that you want to do things, feeling like there's infinite possibilities. In your heart area, it's in the positive, it's love, feeling like you fit in with the group, feeling like you're part of the group, feeling that other people appreciate your work, feeling like you have something to give to the group, feeling that other people will accept you and like you. And in its negative is feeling like you've got nothing to give, feeling unloved, feeling abandoned, feeling like you won't be accepted, that you're an outcast, that you'll be abandoned in the streets alone or kicked out of the group. And then your throat is the ability to express your emotions. So if you feel helpless or stuck, it's this ability to be able to express that, to be able to change something, the ability to be able to talk about your feelings, to acknowledge your feelings, to communicate your feelings, feeling heard, feeling validated. Sorry, I just did the negative and the positive together there. So in the negative, it's feeling like you can't speak, like no one will listen to you, you can't express your emotions, that you're not worthy to express your emotions, you can't ask for what you want, you don't know what you want, you're not going to get what you want. It's basically about expression. And then on the stuck side, it's feeling, on the positive side, it's feeling like you can get what you want, you can express it, you can ask for what you want, you will be heard, and you know what you feel, and you are allowed to express yourself. Like, other people won't judge you for expressing your emotions or your opinions or your feelings. So that's those chakras. So once you've acknowledged what the negative is, the negative vibration that you're having in those chakras, you then want to, you can stay with that feeling. You can even do some exercises to try and shift it, some breathing exercises, some yoga exercises, physical exercise like dance, listening to music to try and shift the energy a little bit. But then you want to put them in the positive. So at the moment you've got a negative self-image because you're on welfare, and I'm sure this was most probably a tendency for you, but you want to try and put it in the positive way. So like, I do have something to offer, I can do it, I can get a job, I can earn money, I can be successful, I can get what I want, I can do it, I have got gifts to offer, I have got talent, I will be successful. And then the heart area, it's this place of giving. It's feeling like you've got something to give, feeling like you are loved, feeling like you're supported, feeling like other people receive your gift and love your gift and enjoy your gifts, as in work, what you want to offer. And then in the throat area, it's the ability to express that. So feeling like you can express and you can ask for what you want. And then it's asking what it is you want. And spiritual people try to deny what it is they want. But what you do want on the human level is you do want to work, you do want to contribute to society, and you do want to be part of a group. And work is being part of the group. Like, we do want to share our skills. We might not want to do the job we're currently doing, but we're creative beings. We want to create something. So all this stuff about competition to me is like, yeah, that's good to understand that and see that in society, like, we're all put in competition and to compete against each other and who's better and this ego level. But then once you've acknowledged all of that, that yeah, society's competing and the way we brought up always in competition isn't the right way to bring up. Like, we compete, but in a really positive way, where we compete as a team, as a society, as a group. And it's not so much about winner or loser, it's about giving your gifts and giving to society. Yes, that is a better way to be brought up, but screw that, that's not the point. What you want to come back to is what it is you want, and then the story that you're telling yourself, and recognizing those feelings and trying to transform those feelings. And seeing that who you think yourself to be is just a product of the system of being human. It's your chakras being off balance, it's society having had an effect, it's your current situation and having a low self-esteem at this moment in time, and then it produces a story of you, and you're always trying to repeat this story of you, whereas what I'm pointing to is just something very practical that's happening in the moment that's completely impersonal. And all of us have this. When something goes wrong, all of our chakras go into the negative, and then it's moving them into the positive. From the non-dual perspective, so if we now look at non-duality, in order to heal ourselves, in a way, we need to know who we are, because we need to realize that that character, that person isn't who we are. Who we are now is the experiencer, this infinite space in which everything's appearing in. And in that, a character appears with these feelings and with these setups, which is, it's very similar to other characters. Everyone's very unique and special in their own right, but at the same time we've all got this same setup, the way that we're made, and seeing the impersonality of it, that the chakra goes off system, and it's not so personal that you're on welfare, it's just the current state of affairs, and you can use that to help grow you, or you can use it to help crush you. And telling yourself negative stories about how society is always about competition and this and that, that's not going to help you. What's going to help you is recognizing what you feel and putting it into a positive vibration. And then on the ultimate level, realizing that none of that is you at all. None of it. Who you are is this infinite space, and that's your freedom, that's your absolute freedom. And on the human level, it's like moving the human into a more pleasurable, more balanced way of being, and seeing that that's not you, all these thoughts that come up. Like, who is this person that's competing against another? Hi, Benjamin. I feel like my identity melted away a few years ago. Talks about non-duality by you and others facilitate this period for me. I feel like it's difficult to talk about non-duality to people who don't understand it. I talk about not feeling like an individual, but more like a point in a network, and I feel quite misunderstood. Do you have any feedback about how to proceed in such case? Just like, I would just ask yourself, who is it that needs other people to understand non-duality? And then see that there's a feeling arising in your character. So there's a feeling arising in your body that has situations where it wants to connect on a deeper level, and other people don't want to connect on a different level, and there is disappointment. And I would just stay with those feelings and just be honest with yourself about those feelings, and rather than trying to talk to people about this subject. In mainstream society, I would say that 99% of people just aren't interested. They're interested in production and survival. And so you've just got to deal with that uncomfortable feeling, and it's nothing to say that that's bad. Like, painful and pleasurable feelings appear. I find it painful dealing with people that are really identified with the character at points, and it's just acknowledging that. And then trying to seek out people that are more interested in this subject, if that's what you want, if you want to meet like-minded people. Thank you for your question. Hi, Chris. Do you believe that anyone can learn non-duality and become enlightened, like people with schizophrenia or serious mental health disorders? Yeah. I don't think that they can learn it on a personal level, but I think there can be an energetic shift. I don't think having a mental health disorder proclaims this at all, because it's all of the personality structure. If they're always in... So I'm a fan of psychology, and I think that it can be really beneficial, and I think there's been some great minds that have participated to psychology. But I'm not really a fan of I don't know about America, but I presume it's worse than England. So I can just really talk about England. And I'm not really a huge fan of the mental health services in England. Like what the government offers for mental health problems. And I think the diagnosis tools are helpful in order to work with someone and to see things, but I also think they're constraints and too rigid. And I know this very, very well. If you've ever read my book, you'll understand why I know this very well, but it's not something I want to talk about on the internet. Yeah, I think that there's a lot more happening in our psychology than the constraints of what our current society thinks. And I think there's been a lot of people in our society that have been branded mad or insane and been given these disorders like schizophrenia or manic depression. And it's been classified as a disorder, whereas I think there's other possibilities as to what it could be. And I think if it was supported in a different way and not treated like a disease and not treated bad, then I actually think that these people could maybe thrive. Like, you've got to remember, people with mental health problems, they say it's birth and a genetic thing, some people, and some people say it's something that's learnt, and they say all different types of things. But oh God, I've forgotten. I have such a terrible memory. But I remember reading a few years ago that they haven't. Yeah, I've forgotten what that statistic was. But yeah, so people with what we call like bipolar, borderline personality, or schizophrenia, they've been brought up in a life, like, you can't imagine the psychological damage it does for someone if they've been brought up in a life misunderstood. Like being told that they're always bad. So often people with kids that have mental health problems, or when they start displaying like autism or borderline personality, parents don't know how to deal with it, and education system don't know how to deal with it. So often what happens is they keep being referred to as bad, as a fuck up, as something wrong with them, and they're not looked at from what talents and what skills and what beautiful things they do have. So they're sort of pinpointed into this role of being bad for society, which fucks someone up. Just being told that you're bad for society. Like, I think that mental health issues like schizophrenia and all these things have evolved in society because of intelligence. Like, it's evolved because it had some use, otherwise we would have wiped it out. like we would have wiped it out, or evolution would have wiped it out. Like I just don't think that evolution creates mad people. I think that that our society has a very dark view on psychological issues, because basically they don't produce in the typical way. You know, the education and the schooling system was originally designed in order to help factories. So factories needed a certain level of education for their workers. So government schools were invented in order to produce factory workers. So we're educated just to be producing machines, to produce and to work in these industries. And people with mental health problems don't fit into that category, but I think they've got gifts to give. I think that there's other realms, most probably, they can see, or other dimensions they can see, or other things they're experiencing, but they were never given the opportunity to explore that. Like, just as somebody, I'm considered disabled in England because I have severe dyslexia. I've talked about this many times before. And when I was younger, so when I was like 4 or 5 years old, or 6 years old, it was so bad, my dyslexia, they wanted to put me into special needs school. And maybe that would have actually been better for me being put in a special needs school, because the regular education was really hardcore for somebody with such severe dyslexia. And then the only reason that didn't happen was because my mum was like, but she's not special needs. But I couldn't read or write, and I struggled to speak. And they went and got me tested, and I had an IQ of somewhere between 120 and 130, which isn't like extraordinary high. Like genius is like 140, but it's higher than average. So it's quite a bit higher than average, I think. Maybe it depends. Maybe we're getting more intelligent now, so maybe it's now average. But that was like when I was like 5 or 6 years old, or 7 years old, I got that test. So my parents stopped me getting put into that. That affects psychologically, just this effect, I can tell you that has such a huge effect on your psychology, because what happened to me in the education system was I was treated like I was an absolute loser. I was treated like I was incredibly stupid. I was treated constantly like everything I did was wrong. But I had high intelligence. So in class, I was grasping the concepts and what we had to do quicker than everybody else, but I couldn't communicate that into language, because dyslexia is an area in your brain where you can't communicate things. You can communicate them into language, but it's just different. If you research it, you'll understand. I can't explain it to you now. That had such a huge impact on me, like on my life. It gave me very low confidence. It made me feel like everybody else was right. So if I'm in a conversation with somebody that's really like saying really stupid things, it might not happen so much anymore, because as I've got older, I saw my dynamic and I'm more grounded. But I could be in a conversation with someone that's saying something really stupid, but they're saying it really firmly as if they're right, and they keep bringing out research or something. And I won't battle to win that. Most probably not now, because so say if we take 10 years ago, now I just couldn't be bothered, but I won't, because I'll assume that I'm most probably wrong. And you can't imagine the effect that has on someone. And then also the effect on someone that's been treated like they're stupid when they actually have high intelligence, or fairly high intelligence. It makes them feel crazy. Like, it's like, so you know something, but you're totally disregarded, you're not listened to, your opinion's not worthy. Imagine, so that is a really small problem compared to something like borderline, manic depression, all these other titles that we give people. That is a really small problem. Like, my problem wasn't bad in comparison to that, but it was hardcore being in an education system for 15 years. Like, I really had to work on the reconditioning of my instrument. And to be told all these things, and then to function in this society. You can't imagine what it's like for somebody that sees reality different from everyone else. So say they're more sensitive, like we're seeing a collective reality. So our brains create collective reality in which we can all talk from, this collective reality. It doesn't mean that reality is right, and it doesn't mean that we're not missing lots of things. Like there's so many things that my eyes and my sound don't pick up, but yet Khaleesi, my dog, picks it up. So imagine somebody that we define as schizophrenic is more perceptive of reality and seeing more dimensions and more possibilities. Or just say, rather than dimensions, just say more possibilities. But their senses are more astute. So they're more sensitive to like empathy or reading time, or maybe they are psychic. Like, why not? They're picking up information from the past. Like, why can't that be possible? Like, my dog can smell something on the ground, and she can smell something that happened there 40 years ago. So dogs, if somebody died, they can smell that death 40 years on. Imagine if their brain is open in a different way to different things. And there's so much creativity and possibility there. But then the society keeps telling you you're mad. That's not real. That's not happening. That's not true. You're wrong. You're mad. You're insane. You can't imagine what that's like for somebody, of what we do to people. And we've never explored this as a society. What we do is we put pills in. We don't even know pills which help the brain, but we put pills in which numb the brain. So we've never even identified pills which help schizophrenia, or what we call schizophrenia, or help manic depression. We can't really find it in the brain. And we give pills that numb the brain. We don't give pills which actually access the schizophrenia. And then we numb them out. And that's what we do. And we research it through these very narrow confines. We research mental illness as if our reality is true. And I would say that our reality, what we currently see on the human level, is very limited. They're very limited. There's so much more going on there that we can't see. So just for an example, so when Europeans went over to America and they went to an island where there were natives, and the natives had never seen boats before, or they'd maybe used some form of boat, but they'd never seen these gigantic boats. When they're looking out to sea, they could see there was something happening in the sea, because they could see different formations and movements in the water, but they couldn't see the boat because they'd never seen them before. They couldn't see them. They couldn't see an object which they'd never named before. And it wasn't until humans, which they knew, began to descend from the boats that they began to be able to see it. Like, there's so much of this reality that our brain isn't seeing. But because as a society we're fixated on production, if somebody isn't a producer, then we're just like, chuck them out. They are bad. They are wrong. They are mental health. And we're terrified of it. Drug them up. Shut them up. Give them therapy. And the therapy, a lot of the therapy is based on believing that this current mental construct of our society is the correct one. And it is right and is true. But our current view on society is just about production. It's just about taking the materials in which we have in front of us and creating something from those materials. And we think that's real. And that's the way we're looking at our current environment. That's why we destroy our environment, because we're looking at it in a capitalistic mindset, in a capitalistic society, and realize that our society is a reflection of the way that we think. It's just in a bigger term. And all our society is concerned about is production, 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 of how we can utilize what's around us and make money from it. I just went off on one there. If you read my book, you'll understand why. That's a sale from my book. As you can tell, I know a lot about mental health issues. I've had it in my family and from friends as well. So I know it very well. And what pains me is that if it was looked at from a different way and it wasn't seen as a disorder, then these people could have infinite things to give to society and be completely creative. There's nothing that makes someone more insane than being told that they're insane and having their reality dismissed all the time. But by the time that you see people, so I don't know if you've worked as an outpatient in mental institutes, like I've been into many hospitals and mental institutes, not as an inpatient myself, but visiting family members. And I used to work with kids with emotional behavioral disorders. And if you go into these places, you see the end result of 20, 30, 40, 50 years of being treated like a piece of shit on the bottom of society's shoe. really is. Just like if you're sitting listening to me, whenever you say mental health issues or psychological issues or schizophrenia or manic depression, just see that you have a negative reaction to it. Like most people that are listening to me, as soon as I say those words, you'll have a negative image of someone with those disorders. And that's a prejudice that's bred into you from society, just like a prejudice against women working 100 years ago. It's bred into you, and we have this fixated idea of what it is. We have no freaking idea. Our brain is way more complex and way more amazing. And I don't, like, it's on the rise, mental illness, and like, why is that? Like, you could say because our society and the way our society is going and it's making people crazy, and then you would think, well, then is mental illness a product of our society and not actually a genetical thing? Oh, but they're susceptible to it. There's other people that don't go crazy with society. I think that everybody that's born into this planet has an innate urge to be creative and to work with people and to love with people and to be part of a group. And the more that we put research onto that and research into how to allow kids to access their own creativity, then all these mental health situations will disappear. We love to create. Like, that's what we do as humans. It's just like if you keep a dog in a cage, all day, or if somebody treats a dog like it's their baby, then their dog's going to start producing really odd behaviors. Like I was hearing about Alsatians, like police dogs that are kept in cages for a long period of time, or kennels. They begin to display OCD and different mental health issues. I've forgotten what it was, OCD and another mental health issue they begin to display after repetitively being locked in these cages. So they pace and they walk in the same direction, they pant, they show anxiety, they shake. They do all these types of behaviors because they're put in a cage. Whereas if you treat a dog like a dog, then it thrives. Like, so many trainings, when you train a dog, you're using its natural impulses to work for you rather than trying to treat it. Now, I know I treat Khaleesi like a baby sometimes, but actually, when I'm treating her like a baby, I'm actually trying to keep her a little bit like a puppy. I actually do it because I love doing it, but I actually do it from intelligence of thinking about her situation. So my dog has a tendency towards fear and aggression. So I try to keep her like, or to encourage this puppy side of her. And it's just one way. When I do this, her puppy side comes out, and I do that to try and counteract the aggression. And she's also sometimes got a tendency towards dominance, so trying to encourage her puppy side helps counteract the dominance as well. I'm actually trying to work with her natural way of being. I also do most probably have issues. I don't have a kid of my own, so I do maybe do that a bit too much, treating her and spoiling her. But I try to keep her in a way as wild as possible. Like, I encourage her wildness, like her independence, and her urge to chase and kill animals. I don't let her do it, but I understand that urge, and I use it to help her, release her energy. And even though Khaleesi's got a tendency towards aggression, I actually think she's quite a balanced dog. I think her tendency towards aggression is because when she was younger and she got nervous of other dogs, I used to leave her a lot with babysitters, and they used to pull back on her lead. And this is one way you train a dog to be aggressive. If you want your dog to be aggressive to a certain type of human, like a man, every time you see a man, pull back the lead and put tension around their neck. And it will begin to associate stress and tension. They're very simple dogs because tension has gone around the neck. They'll associate tension with that human, and then you just keep repetitively doing it. And when I used to leave her with people, they used to get afraid of seeing another dog or seeing another human. They used to pull it back, and she already had a susceptibility towards aggression, and so it got encouraged. Like, she was a street dog, so street dogs are quite fierce and aggressive, so it got encouraged. And then she's got that genetic makeup of being more aggressive. And you see lots of dogs actually displaying mental health problems. Like, as an absolute dog fan, a dog should behave like a dog. Like, Khaleesi generally behaves like a dog. And when a dog's not behaving like a dog, it's odd. And dogs often have a lot of anxiety, and people think it's happiness. Like, when their dog's like going crazy and really like what they think is happiness, it's often anxiety expressed. But I'm saying all of this in relationship to mental health problems and the way that people are treated in our society and the way that it's treated. But studying psychology at university, I do think there's like Jung, I never know how to say his name, Carl Jung. It's amazing. Like, Freud invented the idea of the unconscious. And we didn't have the ability to talk about the unconscious before he invented it, and Jung invented so many different things. There's so many different psychologists out there that and philosophers out there that have contributed to psychology, and is amazing. I personally, if I was you might not be listening anymore, Chris. It's such a gift that you're at university studying psychology. I never had these opportunities. With my dyslexia, I couldn't pass exams to study anything like that at university or in an institute. But what I would do is I would use that institute for you, and I would pass all the exams and listen to what you're being taught there, but just be aware that they're teaching you, their perspective is to get people to go back into the production line. So most psychologists and therapists are about getting people back to a place where they can go into the production line and carry on working, which in one way is helpful for society, like in certain terms, but in another way, like, that's not actually the source of what human suffering is. And just putting them back so they're well enough to go back into something they're unhappy in and they're just like surviving, like, that's not actually an achievement. But just be conscious that that's what psychology is often about, is making humans be able to cope with this society, and so they can produce better for this society and for their family, which is okay. But I would use your institution that you're studying at just to really explore and open your mind to some of the great minds that are out there. So be aware that that's what your institution will be pushing towards, and then just read deeper into these great minds that you're being asked to study, and see that these great minds that were really successful, they normally have an ulterior motive that goes beyond just getting somebody back into production line. They're deeply fascinated and interested in the subject and passionate, and in that passion there's fascinating things to learn. But be aware that your education system that you're in is limited. And I think in certain ways it's great that we all get education in the West, but just be aware that Western motives are about putting people back into the production line, whereas I think the most healthiest way for a society to function is encouraging humans to be their authentic creative self on the human level. And I think this is the most healthiest way of being, like finding their own natural motive. Like say with Khaleesi, if I want to play ball with her, but she doesn't like the ball, but I force her to play ball, so I train her to play ball with me. So she doesn't really want to play it. It's not her natural instinct to play ball. Most dogs it is, but I train her. So every time she does it, I tell her she's a good girl, and I train her with treats every time she does it. But every time she does it, she's like, oh. But she wants the treat, so she goes for it, and she wants to make me happy, and she goes for it. Now, that's what our society does. But imagine if I watched Khaleesi and watched what she naturally thrived at and naturally was interested in, and I encouraged her to go for that. That is a healthy, balanced human, and that's a healthy, balanced dog as well. Like, give Khaleesi a real animal chasing a squirrel. She's all up for it, for chasing. You're a boar, and she's like, ah, fuck that, Lisa. And guarding. Khaleesi loves guarding. It's like trying to make Khaleesi like someone that plays ball, whereas she loves garden. She is guarding the property. Her natural instinct is to guard. But I've really gone off of something. You touched a passion inside of me there, Chris. So I really went off. But that's enough for tonight. I love you all very much, and I wish you everything, and I'll be here again on Wednesday at 6 p.m. French time, and you're very welcome to join. But I really wish you everything. Thank you. Bye, guys.